Okay. Right. So today we're just going to talk about developing a business plan. So last time we covered off or how we can get a rough idea of what the value of the block is worth. We gave you some sales and stuff like that, and then it was up to you to do a bit of research and see what was on the market, and put that in, and if they had a price beside them or not, and obviously look at the capital values or the rateable values as well. And yeah, so we covered that, and then we started to talk a bit about budgeting, or went through that presentation on budgeting. Thank you. What I've done, and this is a bit of work in progress, I've actually still got to fix it up a bit, but I've set up some cash flows or budget template for you in cash flow. So what will happen is that you'll basically put in the figures in here, and then you'll spread them across. Okay, and we've basically worked off the template that the MAF monitoring or PMI monitoring report works on. So that's what I've based that off. And so there's all your working costs, and then down below here I've also allowed for the capital development. So nothing's protected, so you can change headings or whatever you like, and then obviously that goes works out what your overdraft requirement is, and then it'll calculate your interest. Now, some of you might be better at spreadsheets than me, but there's a thing called circular references. So, and that applies when you calculate interest. We'll try and work out overdraft interest because it's calculating itself. So what I've done is done a separate table down here. It'll work out what the interest is for the month on the overdraft, and then you've just manually got to put it into the overdraft interest column here, and then we'll get an idea of what your overdraft interest costs are. But what I haven't allowed for, and I think if you remember when I was talking to you, when you do a budget, everything as GST exclusive. Okay, so like when you go and buy something in town for yourself, a beer, it's, I don't know, $7.50 for a Heineken or something like that. Well, that includes GST. But any costs within your business, everyone talks exclusive GST because they actually claim the GST off the expense. And when they sell grapes, if it's $2,500 a tonne, well, it's plus GST as well. So everything in that budget is GST exclusive, but when we're working out what our overdraft requirements are going to be, we actually are going to have to add in the GST to see how that affects the overdraft. So that I didn't actually put that in, so I will get that fixed. I'll do that in the next, well, I'll certainly do it, I'll have it on the up on the net there on the ET online by tomorrow anyway, sometime tomorrow. So, but you can see there, that's the format, and then just down below it'll transfer everything through, and you'll see here you can work out, do some benchmarking here, or it'll give you, it just basically transposes all that there and works it out on a per effective hectare per tonne. And if you know the number of vines, so that's where you put the vines in, or number of hectares, and if you can even work it down to a per vine value. So that'll all just work that out for you as well. So that'll give you some more or some ratios and stuff like that to look at. So yeah. So that's that, and then I've obviously done that for 5 years. So you obviously first couple of years you can have very little income, or none, but you can have some or obviously running costs, accountancy, interest, rates and all that, and then obviously here's your capital expenses here, etc. Yeah, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that, or your capital development. But so that will be available the next day or so anyway for you to work on. So it's a template. Nothing's protected, so just go carefully, otherwise you might override a formula or something like that. Okay. So yeah. Any questions on that?
Right. If you, just as a tip on that, use the spreadsheets. If ever I make a big change, I tend to keep a copy of it before I make the change. And then once you've made the changes, if you're happy with the changes, then overwrite the old copy. But keep two copies. Because they can get very complicated. depends how good you are at spreadsheets and how much you want to change, but yeah, it can risk losing. And obviously the original template will always be online, but if you go and make lots of changes and put lots of information in, you want to make sure you've got a copy somewhere.
So I'm just drinking my caffeine fix for the morning. Okay, so yeah, so what we're going to do, let's make sure, keep me on that we have a break at 11. So we'll run through that and then we'll see how we go. There's a wee bit to go through. So this is just taken off the unit standard there, 2130008, which is develop a business plan and monitor the objectives for an agri-business. So obviously this is all incorporated into your project, so this will give you some ideas and etc. on how to lay out your business plan. And yeah, it's pretty much how we're going to go there. How to do this.
It needs to be switched on its side.
Yeah, it is on there.
Is the thing in?
Is there a USB thing there somewhere? Very, very clever.
Just give me a second to recognise it.
Yeah.
Just restart the slideshow.
Oh, okay, yeah, I don't have to reboot the whole thing.
No, you shouldn't need to. Just pull the button at the side, make sure it's in the middle, not right at the top.
It might be it. Ah. So obviously we don't have to worry too much about that because this is a separate sort of paper that the DIPORTs, etc., or the NDAMs do, the Diploma in Agribusiness Management. But yeah, so yeah, it's all about analysing, getting that information, collecting all that information, and obviously working out where you are now and where you want to be. And it's all about having a vision. My vision is to produce premium organic wine or whatever you like. I mean, you're more the experts on that to create that vision. But obviously, it's also about developing goals and objectives. And goals are really your sort of 5-year sort of plans, and your objectives, in the way we talk about it here, are your steps that you need to take to get to that, to reach that goal. And then the action plans are sort of how are you actually going to achieve those objectives. So those interim steps, how you're actually going to do it. And it's important that with all these, and I think you've probably covered already, talk about SMART goals. You talked about SMART? Okay, well we're going to cover that, but it's just an acronym to use, etc. And then obviously the big thing is monitoring and reviewing your action plans. And one thing that I always use, or was shown once, is pie. It's not because I eat too many pies, but so it's all about planning. Okay, so you plan. You implement that plan, but one thing that we're probably all kind of weak about is actually evaluating, how did it actually go? So after a year one, did we achieve what we wanted to achieve? What went well, what didn't? So it's a matter of, setting in some periods there where you actually go back and review that plan. And as I said, if you don't have anything written down, it's very important that you write things down because it sort of keeps you a bit more accountable rather than just having it up in your head. And there's been a study done, I think, from Harvard, somebody like that. They looked at the most successful graduates, or all the graduates, and the ones that had made the Fortune 500, etc. The one common theme or common thing that they had was that they'd actually written down their goals even when they were at university of what they wanted to achieve, things like that. So again, it's about writing things down. So a couple of little sayings here: aim at nothing and you'll hit it, and the old fail to plan and you plan to fail. So it is all about planning, and this is what this is, obviously. So you can simply say, well, bridges the gap from where you are now to where you want to be. So what do you have to do? How are you going to do it? And when are you going to do it? So when you're developing your capital budget for your development, you'll have it each month or each year what your activities are to get your development block up and running, and how you're going to monitor it and who is going to do it. Or another way of saying it is, well, where am I now, and where am I going, and how I'm going to get there. The other thing to look at a business plan is to think of it a bit like a map. In that, or a journey, you know where you want to go, but sometimes you get a bit stuck or lost or gets a bit foggy, so it's always good to go back to that business plan or that map just to see where you are, or work out where you are and what direction you've got to go to keep you on track. What I suggest you do is go on, well, obviously just Google business plan. There's plenty of templates online that you can use, and I think John's already put some ideas there for you. You might want to look at the dairy industry, do a really good one. So Dairy NZ. So if you Google that, you might want to make a note of that, Dairy NZ, and just have a look at their site. They do have some quite good business plan templates there as well. In plans, there's always, there is two types. You forecast, and obviously your budget's your key to that plan from the financial point of view. What capital you're going to need. So it's forecasting the future, but you should obviously have some what-if scenarios in there. So some contingencies in there. So it's important to do that if the yields don't quite match up, or you can't. It's hard to get plants or something like that for your new varieties or whatever you're going to do. You should have some backup plans in there as well. So at least consider it. This is just a bit of, again, this is kind of the theory of business plans, but they all have common themes, and what some people call a problem, to others it's an opportunity. Depends if you're a glass half full or glass half empty person. And you're always forming these plans based sometimes on imperfect knowledge, and particularly in agribusiness or in horticulture, the biggest variable, the one that you can't predict, is the weather. So you're doing these things with imperfect knowledge. You're always looking at maybe some suitable alternatives if things don't go quite the way you want to, and obviously analysing those alternatives, and within that, when you decide what varieties you're going to do, you might have done some basic gross margin analysis on which ones are going to be best for you, or best for your site, etc. So that's where those alternatives will be. And then obviously you choose which way you're going to go. But obviously your business plan it's what's always important to think about your goals and objectives and what they are. And obviously there's some financial goals there, but there's some personal goals as well in terms of your lifestyle, or probably all comes back to your lifestyle or your personal goals, to what affects your financial goals and how you want to be. And I know in my experience when I was banking, it was always important when I sat down and met clients for the first time, is to understand, what drives them, or what their unique situation was. And for some people, the husband and wife partnership, one of them will normally, probably in a lot of cases, the wife was from overseas, so they always had a goal that they wanted to go back to the UK or wherever every 3 or 4 years, so that affected the drawings that they took out of the business. So you've got to come back to that, and it's important to have those goals and objectives sort of set out at the start. Obviously it depends on where you are, what the land type is that you're going to be and what its constraints are, or what its unique characteristics are to grow the best variety for there. And you've obviously got to be aware of what your ability is or what your experience is as well, and take that into account. Institutional constraints, well, that's, if the and I guess as an example, the council might say, well, look, hey, you can't, we don't want you to put a vineyard in that certain, depending on zonings and things like that. But I know in your case it'll all be pretty straightforward there, so you won't have anything there. And at the end of the day, you've got to like what you want to do and enjoy it. So that's hence why you choose a variety or a system that you're going to use. So why have your business plan? Well, I think it's important for yourself to have a bit of a roadmap of where you're going to go. But obviously, it will form part of your loan application, which we're going to cover off how you make a proposal to the bank, and a lot of what you do in this will just replicate into your proposal, what you present to the bank as well. So, you do this, and certainly I'd have to say 90% of my clients that I dealt with, they never had a business plan, probably 95% of them. So you're going to impress the hell out of the banker straight away if you presume, say, look, this is my business plan, this is where I want to go. You might be actually looking to, instead of getting bank finance, you might be looking at getting a partner in, a shareholder in. So you've got to have something there, or you might be wanting to get family support, a family loan or something like that. Well, they're going to want to know, what are you up to, where's the money going to be spent, etc., and what are the what's the financial forecast over the next 3 to 5 years. What's good about a business plan is that if you start thinking about things, well, it really tests your knowledge, or tests where the weaknesses or the opportunities are. And we talk a bit more about it, but another little acronym is, have you done this, SWOT?
How many people have done SWOT?
Yeah.
One.
What is it?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities,
Yep. So obviously, what are the strengths to the business or to you? You can do a SWOT analysis on yourself. What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities that you can enhance or improve? And then what are the threats to your business, which, disease or competitors or whatever. So it's quite a good little some headings. I think we'll give you some ideas for some headings in there anyway, but to do a bit of a SWOT analysis on your business will be good, or on the business and you. It's quite a good idea.
When I just
Sure.
sorry, before I got into viticulture, when I was a consultant back in the UK, we always used to, as a consultancy business, whenever we routinely did SWOT analyses on different sectors of the business that we were trying to increase our sales into. And if you lay it out simply on a table like that, much bigger obviously, and you write down all the different strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats to that one particular aspect of the business, or as the business as a whole, it's quite interesting sometimes to see which of the quadrants actually has the most in it. And you have to be brutally honest with yourself. If there's a weakness to the business, if you kid yourself, then you're not doing yourself any favours. You try and kid someone else, but you're actually kidding yourself first. If you actually are honest and look at the weaknesses and threats, be honest about them, see which one has the highest number of points in it. Are there more strengths than weaknesses? I mean, you would hope that there are. Are there more opportunities than threats? Okay. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but it can highlight
Yeah.
areas of the business that you need to focus on or concentrate on. Or if we're talking about budgeting, which, you know, a weakness or a threat might incur extra cost to you in running that business. And it might reveal something that you haven't necessarily thought.
Yeah, that quadrant layout,
Sorry.
that's a really good one. No, that's good. No, feel free to dive in there. Yeah, that sort of quadrants are really good, a good way of laying it out too. Yeah, and as I say, it's a way of with your business plan. There's a way of a way of reducing the risk and uncertainty, because you hopefully you've thought of the contingencies, or you've thought of the risks to your business, and you've detailed or thought about how you're actually going to manage those risks. And some of them, frost risk or whatever. Well, okay, you put in flipper irrigation or a windmill, frost protection windmill, etc. Take out some insurance. It's not that common in horticulture or that thing. So all those sorts of things. Interest rates could be a risk to your business. So one way of, if you're relatively highly indebted, so one way of reducing that risk might be to fix a portion or a portion of your debt, so you know exactly at least, well, that's one less uncertainty I've got in my business. That's an example of that. That's more talking about risk management. Business plan, if you're getting an advisor or a consultant along, it's often good to share that, well, very important that you share that with them. So again, they know where you're coming from or know what's driving you. And it's a bit of a baseline for you to test new ideas as well. And if you're running a fairly extensive operation, then it's important that you get the commitment of management and staff. And I know when I was banking, we all individually had our different portfolios or areas, or we actually used to write our own business plan. And I guess to be fair, when we started it, they used to be 5 or 6, 7 page documents. But in the end, we actually just got it down to a 1-pager, which was a bit of a flow diagram from etc. And it was, you can, for this assignment, it's going to be part of it, obviously. But you can, if you can simplify it and it's simple and concise and succinct, well, your staff are probably going to buy into it a lot more as well. And it's good, obviously, to get their input as well. Okay, so here's, obviously you can have that in there, but here's some headings for your business plan. So the old mission statement or vision for the future. And again, if you look at, you'll look at a few business plans online, etc. You'll see what their mission statements are. But it only needs to be 2 or 3, 4 sentences, or shorter the better, really, nice and succinct. An example of a dairy one that I saw the other day is our mission is to grow milk, is to produce as much milk as we can. Real nice and simple. So again, your goals and objectives, which we've talked about. Your brief description of your enterprise, just some tips on when you're writing that out. One thing that I've always found handy is, and again, it only needs to be a paragraph or so, but what you just need to write in there is obviously how big it is, so size, where it is on what road, how far away it is from a winery or a main winery or from town. It might be 5 k's east of Hastings or whatever. So your location, contour. I assume it's all going to be flat. Talk a bit about the soil types. Improvements, so then talk about, has it got a bore, what structures it's got in place now, or what you're planning to have, and buildings as well. So, that just gives you, it's a bit of a little thumb sketch, so the reader gets pretty much a handle on a picture of where you are now. Hey, and the other thing is, to make your business plan look pretty good, don't be frightened to use pictures as well. take some photos of the block or something like that, some aerial maps, some Google Maps, stuff like that, which I think John's going to go over here. You use that.
Yeah.
The old, my sort of philosophy is, a picture paints 1,000 words. So, yeah, include that in there. So that's your brief description. So your KPIs. So do we know what? I don't know if we talked about that. KPIs. What does that stand for? Key performance indicators. Okay. So you'd be hopefully writing a little glossary there somewhere. Yeah. So key performance indicators. So they're the. So what do you think they would be in your business?
Quality of your grapes.
Yeah. So how do you measure? Is that how do you measure? What are the units to measure that quality? Bricks. I mean, I'm not a great.
Disease level, condition of the canopy.
And anything you can measure, basically. You've got to be able to, if you've got an indicator of performance, you've got to be able to measure it. So what are the KPIs for the industry as a whole? They've just actually been released recently, in the past week or so, by wine growers. What do you think they might be?
Oh, the sales of the vineyard sales.
No. What would be for New Zealand wine growers? What do you think would be a key piece of information that would indicate the performance overall of the New Zealand wine industry?
Crop sales.
They release them every month.
Export.
Exactly. Export figures, wine sales basically. Export to different countries, broken down, variety, areas. They will release figures every month. They will give the export figures, and then every year they sum them up and produce summaries throughout the year. But those KPIs are the key indicators that have been identified by wine growers to indicate the performance of the overall New Zealand wine industry. Okay? Bulk wine sales, for instance. Go onto New Zealand Wine Growers' website and have a look at some of the seminars that they have up there. There was one here in Napier about a month or so ago, where Phil Gregan stood up and put up some of the key indicators, and one of the ones he talked about was bulk wine sales, okay? Because that can have a huge influence on the business, and it's becoming an important part of the business, and whether that goes up or down.
So, in relation to our own business.
Okay, well, what's a key indicator of whether your business is succeeding?
Your turnover,
Yes, turnover's a little bit of a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah, because you might be getting a great turnover, but you might be spending a hell of a lot to generate that. So it's that economic surplus.
What's the most obvious thing? What do you do?
Growing grapes.
You're growing grapes. So what's the key indicator of that performance? Your yield.
Yeah, exactly.
Your yield, and as Damon said, your quality, which the only, when it comes down to things like flavour, it's very difficult not impossible to measure that. But bricks we could use to, if we have a bricks target, are we meeting a yield target that we've set ourselves and a bricks target? Okay. And how much or how close as a percentage are we getting to that? That's a KPI.
Or it'd be dollars per tonne, wouldn't it? I mean,
Well, yeah, although that's fixed, isn't it, for this?
Oh, for this assignment,
yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
sorry, it is.
But yeah, in reality, if that price per tonne was dropping the whole time, then one of your key performance, because it's going to affect your performance hugely.
Yeah, the good old saying is if it moves, measure it.
Yeah.
But on your costs, it's all very well, as I say, you can generate some great yields, but what's it actually costing you to do that? And that's another, what are your orchard working percentage costs as a percentage of gross income? Industry average might be 50% or 55%. If your 55% of your income goes into costs to generate that income, whereas, if you can keep your costs down, or you minimise your spray programs, all those sorts of things. So, what falls at the bottom, really? Organisational structure. Again, yeah, for you guys, you're pretty much going to be running this block yourself, aren't you? And you're going to get contractors in. So, yeah, again, the old picture paints 1,000 words, but, have the vineyard manager here, a box, and or you might have some staff, but then you might have you contract out your pruning, etc. And you contract your harvesting, all that sort of stuff. But having a sort of a, you know, one of those wire diagrams, all those organisational charts, always looks quite good. But I think for this case, you know, it's really just going to be you. You're the chief cook and bottle washer, so and you just mentioned that there. Marketing plan. Again, for this assignment, you're just locking into a contract, so you're not trying to sell the grapes. You're not knocking on doors to sell your wine or etc. So that's kind of already sorted. But you just might mention that, have that as a heading. Say, you know, based on this, our plan is we've signed a 5-year contract or supply agreement with Villa Maria or whoever, and just talk about that.
Should we just make a fictitious contractor? I mean, fictitious name for the contract?
Whatever you want, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I don't think that would be a problem. Yeah. I mean, John's given you some guidance on what prices you can use.
Because it says it has to be a feasible market for our grapes, so marketing would be important.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the marketing you need to be discussing just a small section on expected wine style and quality. Because if you're going for the $3,500 a tonne Syrah, you need to be indicating what wine style and quality that's going into and where that would likely be sold.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not going to be a full-on marketing plan by any means, but you need to indicate in that. You know, if you're going for sparkling, Pinot for sparkling, well, what quality sparkling, for instance?
Okay, production plan. Well, John can talk a bit more about that, but yeah, I mean, a calendar of events is, I guess, is the only thing I can think of. You know, have your, you know, have the month a bit like your cash flow basically, but just have each month, January, February, March, April, May, blah blah blah, and then just have the